Alright, just had this S55 drop off today. This was the engine before they started with the 63s. It's a supercharged V8 M113K engine. And this is the new M113K engine that's going to be going in it. It evidently needs a new engine. I didn't diagnose it, but a customer went ahead and found a good engine that's going to work and fit up nicely. Just have to swap a couple components. So I'm going to get that list together and of course swap the supercharger over and whatever else is different. I'll have to compare the oil pans and things like that. But anyways, before I get into that, I'm just going to make a quote to, first of all, inspect the car, which is what this video is going to be about, and also to check over the engine and do as many checks as I can possibly do with the engine out of the car. It does have a 30-day warranty, which is great, so it could put it in stress-free, and just if it doesn't start, then that's good. I mean, that's not good, but it would be good that it would be covered because it comes with a warranty saying everything's perfect. So I'm just going to look over the rest of the car now, and I'll probably make another video of this job separately, just because I feel like this is becoming more of like a DIY type engine. There's a lot of people experimenting with these and getting more comfortable working with them as they age. So it might be helpful to someone out there to see how to work on these, or to pull one out if, God forbid, you need to do that in one of your 55 AMGs. The majority of them are the same. There's tiny little differences, different supercharger variants and things like that. But anyway, just to get started on the basic inspection here, to see if there's anything worth addressing. Obviously this engine's coming out, so I don't really care about if it's leaking or not. I will inspect this one before it goes in. I would think someone had resealed these valve covers at some point because they always leak like this. Oh, well, it is dripping off, I guess. Yeah, the exhaust is wet from oil. So definitely valve cover gaskets. And it's sort of a two-phase job on this engine because you get the normal valve cover gasket here. Here's the gasket and here's the valve cover. And then these top like sort of PCV breather housings that just seal on. So you've got sealant to clean up from here and reseal, and then this gasket to just replace. So, and on these older ones, sometimes this gasket can like glue itself to the cylinder head, and you can break this valve cover off because it's pretty brittle metal. It's just cast aluminum or magnesium even. I'm not sure exactly. There was a lot of magnesium housings, like transmission housings were magnesium. But anyways, older car like this, you really have to be careful prying those off, but hopefully there won't be any issues there. And yeah, these oil pans, you got the lower oil pan and then the upper oil pan section. I'll have to make sure those are the exact same. Obviously on all-wheel drive models, they'll be shaped differently because either on like the later engines, you'll have the drive shaft that goes through the oil pan. There's like a hole made into it. Or if you have like a front diff here, or the front diff might mount to the engine or the oil pan or something like that. But I'll just compare these. If I'm not mistaken, this came out of a CL55, which is fairly similar to the S chassis comparison to the lineup. It's not like it came out of a G-Wagon or something. But even if it did, I don't know the exact comparisons. We did several parts comparisons on this thing before we had it. Like as the customer would find an engine, he would send it to me and I would see exactly what's different, make sure the internals are the same, make sure the heads are the same, everything like that. As far as if it's just like a bolt-on component, like say the exhaust manifold might be different, then that's simple. You just unbolt it and bolt the other one on from the car and it's good to go. And you can see how much this valve cover is leaking too. It's dripping off on almost every corner. So maybe they haven't been done because that's a pretty aggressive leak. If they were done, it had to have been at least 10 years ago for it to be back to this state. So, valve cover, gaskets, motor mount bolts. I'll probably get, if I'm not mistaken, this is a one-time use bolt on this engine anyways. So, oil pans look all right. It's hard to tell, like you've got this oil coming out here, but is that coming out or is it all dripping down from the valve cover? It's hard to tell whenever you got a leak so high up. So all this coolant residue was just from this. It's been dripping out of there for a while. I don't know how long this engine's been out of the car. You can see it drips all the way down from there. I guess there's no real way to know unless you run it. It would just suck to run this, and then like the timing cover would need to come off or something like that, that the engine would need to come back out for. I can't tell if this oil pan's been resealed or not. This sealant path is a little sloppy. But the main thing being the timing cover, and there seems to be oil coming from here. And it's pretty dry all the way up. So I don't really see a leak path that would lead to that. Some of that's coolant too, because you can see it's like dried coolant. But as it drips, it would just follow along the seam here. You can see, but there's clearly oil, like residue coming out. And then I hate to quote out and say that it needs an oil pan, but it's not like you can wash it off and, like I said, run it and then it need to be resealed and you have to take it back out just to reseal it. But it's also a pretty big job to do unnecessarily, to take this timing cover off. Also, I was looking at these are VRP pulleys, if I'm not mistaken. These bearings are pretty worn out. It sounds okay, but I can feel it, like it's very rough. And then this one too, that one feels good, but this one has a lot of slop in it. The pulley itself looks okay. Maybe not this one, it's grooved pretty heavily. You can feel these very vividly with your finger. But they do have serviceable bearings in them. So like, I could just replace these bearings and then keep the upgraded pulleys for what it's worth. Or just take these pulleys off. Well, depending on how they feel too. I mean, the OEM pulleys might be just as worn out. I'd probably quote out these bearings. These are nice pulleys as long as the bearings are good. They're not chipped or damaged or anything, just worn out bearings. So, let's see, move to the back. Obviously, replace the front crankshaft seal. Looks like it's actually been replaced before. For one, I can see marring on the edges here and here. And it's not pressed in exactly equal. Like it's sticking out a bit up top and it's perfectly flush down below. It's hard to get these seated in just perfectly, especially if you're not using the actual special tool. But like I said, you don't know if any of this stuff leaks until you start it for the first time, and then it's too late anyways. It's redundant, like it's complete labor overlap to do the job over again when you have the engine out. I guess I'll quote it. So I'll quote it and just let the customer decide and say like, hey, this is the main concern on the whole engine. And be like, this could be a potential timing cover leak. It's running a crack too, so you can't see if it'd be like a oil pan leak or a timing cover leak. I would really think an oil pan over a timing cover, but I don't know if this has ever been off. Or, I mean, if it even matters, if it's leaking, it's leaking. But to take the timing cover off, you have to take the oil pan off anyways. So I would say just to not risk it, because the timing cover is such a big job. I guess I'll quote that out with the engine out as it is now and say like, this is potentially a leak path, and you can see it here. Like, I'm going to send this video to the customer and just give them the option and say you could either have this resealed now while it's out and have peace of mind, or wash it off and just hope it doesn't come back. It's not a real leak. And that could have been like oil that got spilled there. I mean, the engine's out of the car, so like no telling how they disconnected this. If maybe they splashed some oil on it, if they took out this tensioner and put it back in or something, and oil dripped out of it. So it's really kind of impossible to tell. So let's see. Moving around to the back of this guy. Try to get a good eye on the rear main. There's a bunch of oil back here. You can see piling up there. And a good bit back here as well. So definitely rear main seal. It'll be the seal plate that you're looking at, and then the actual radial seal that's down in there. So other than that, just a couple leaks that I'd recommend fixing, and then the rest is going to be simply swapping the parts. So let me confirm that the oil pans are the same. It'd almost be even nicer if they weren't, because then they have to come off anyways, and you wouldn't have to worry about deciding whether or not you're going to take the oil pans off, because they have to come off anyways. But if they don't, then that's where like the decision comes in. But obviously the supercharger has to be replaced, like swapped over. And these bearings have to be changed. Valve covers resealed. That's another one too. Oh, that one's bad. Yeah. Again, this pulley's okay, just the bearing's crunchy. Anyways, and then the valve cover, the fucking oil pan, I already said that. Okay. So now to just go over everything in the engine bay that's not the engine. See if there's anything else worth addressing. Maybe power steering fluid leaks, AC leaks, the belt looks good. Yeah, everything else looks pretty good. Fan feels good. Coolant's topped off. These valve covers are leaking a lot. Not that it matters anymore. I don't even know exactly what's wrong with this engine. If I'm not mistaken, he had the dealership here diagnose it and just deemed it needed to be replaced. And a lot of times on these older cars and these engines, it doesn't take much to sort of like total an engine. So it's not that it's not fixable and not rebuildable, and of course it's not like broken in half, but just the price a lot of times to fix these things, it's way cheaper to just replace them. Obviously I'm going to quote motor mounts with transmission mounts while it's out, because it's free minus whatever the part happens to be. So yeah, everything else looks pretty good up here. Okay, let me lift it up and see if there's anything under the car worth addressing, and then go from there. Okay, one tiny thing I noticed. I was checking the tire pressure so that I can top them off once it's in the air, and the tire pressure sticker is always in the inside of the gas door. And the gas cap tether strap is broken here. It's supposed to be attached there. It just keeps the gas cap from falling off and rolling away. Not a big deal at all, but just worth noting. But anyways, what I'm really looking for is 3335. 3335. Single missing undershield screw, which is very rare, especially for this age. Usually half of them are stripped out or missing. So let's see here. For the inspection here, I'm probably just going to focus on the inspection. Okay, so, all right, start over. Okay, so let's see, for the inspection here, it'd be nice to turn this engine over right now, but I have the hoist system still hooked up to it, and I don't want this dangling and scratching stuff, so this is fine. I'll be able to compare at least. And they got the part number stamped on the oil pan. So I'll compare those and make sure they're the exact same. Same with the upper oil pan, make sure that's the same. And that doesn't need to be swapped out or anything. This also looks to have a pretty bad rear main seal leak. These rubber plugs will swell up all the time. I'll get replacements of those and clean out the transmission bell housing once the engine and the transmission are separated. And this rubber swells up and gets really soft anytime they're soaked in oil like that. But I'll have to borrow this starter to do a compression test on that engine. As far as any other leaks, don't really see any. This is a bit juicy. This AC line. I guess that's coming from the AC. I don't see. This one's a bit wet too. Transmission cooler, if I'm not mistaken. This black line. This is clearly the most wet one. It's not coming from anywhere else. Probably the seal or the joint here where the rubber goes into the metal. So let's see. Nothing else is concerning at all. No other leaks. Nothing else is wet. It's a pretty clean car, especially for its age. Yeah, the belts look good. Okay, just to go over the suspension here. Check out all these bushings and stuff. This one's starting to crack apart pretty good. That's a deep tear in that one. That one too is about the same. So these bushings are tearing apart pretty aggressively. I'd probably replace those. Oh yeah, so are these. These were way worse. Oh, that's completely torn apart. Let me see if I can get a good angle on that. And this side too, it's torn all the way around. It's hard to get a focus on that. You can see this one's torn apart. It's totally separated. And this ball joint too is busted. Tie rods look good. Lower control arm ball joints look good. And that'll be fine too. It'd be cool if the bushing came with a control arm, since this control arm would have to be replaced anyways because it's ball joint. And then it would sort of kill two birds with one stone there. Hydraulic suspension. It's good to see that's still in there. A lot of times you'll get a leak or something and people will just delete it and put in like cheap spring suspension. All the tires look really good. They had to have been replaced recently. The brakes look very good too. That's all good. Over there, over here as well. That upper ball joint looks good. The boot does. This one's not quite busted yet. And this brake looks good too. We got eye on the outside, or on the outside pad here. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and like I said, the back of this engine doesn't really matter, but it is leaking pretty heavily. A bit worse than the new engine. It's not gonna focus on that, but there's a lot of oil coming out of the back of this one. And yeah, I could see that this undershield was really wet. That's the rear one. It sort of covers like the front half of the transmission, the back half of the engine. And that makes sense. It would have been filling up the underpan with oil there. So let's see, the transmission looks pretty good. Not leaking anywhere. That all looks good. Let me see what this is the shifter rod. That feels good. That rod there is what connects the shifter to the transmission. Those have bushings that always wear out and crumble apart, but not this one. It seems good. Let's see what this transmission mount feels like. You can feel them before you can, both in the car and with your hand. Like I know how it feels when it's collapsed, like how far down it is. That's pretty far down. I can't tell if it's completely collapsed or not, but it's almost touching. It's supposed to be like suspended in the air, like the rubber isn't supposed to be touching, but whenever it sags down and collapses, then it touches and it resonates a lot of the vibration through the chassis. But like I said, I'm gonna quote those out no matter what, unless I could tell that they were clearly like brand new. The motor mounts too. That one does look new. And he may have had them replaced. He did give me the most recent service record for it. So I'll go through here and see like if they were replaced like 500 miles ago, then obviously they're perfectly good to use again. I haven't gone through this stuff yet though. But yeah, nothing with the transmission. Moving to the back, this flex disc is just starting to form a couple of tiny tears. Nothing to be concerned about yet at all. They're kind of getting deep right there, but still not worth addressing at this point, I would say. I'll make a price just so you can see what to expect in another year or two, but I definitely wouldn't replace that yet. It's not concerning at all. Just checking for exhaust rattles. Anything's loose in any of these resonators, cats, or mufflers. And then the drive shafts and the diff. These axles both look a bit, not wet, but just like grimy. Sort of dried up grease on them. But it's definitely nothing crazy, and nothing really starting to come out. You can see like a bit of it is starting to sling out onto some of the undershielding here. See those little grease pellets? And here too, on the back of the subframe. That would be grease slinging out from the axles there. Here is a good shot, all that. I wouldn't replace the axles over that. That might be another one of those things that I'll just quote out just to see what the price would be like. And then looking over the rest of the bushings here on the back of the suspension. These bushings all look pretty good. Nothing torn. Okay, so these rear shocks are leaking a bit. You can see how wet this one is. And that one's not leaking yet, but I always quote out suspension components in pairs. It's definitely not dripping out, but the fact that it doesn't take a lot for like a suspension shock to leak. Spider webs on the back of it here. Hasn't been driven in a while. Just checking out the rest of the suspension bushings. Those all look good, and the differential bushings also look good. Can't see these rear brake pads, so I'm gonna get a mirror to check on those on the inside. But the outside one looks very thick. Yeah, so I'll get a mirror and check the inside just to make sure there's nothing weird going on there. So a couple little items to just expect with age, but nothing super crazy at all. Just basic wear items that you can expect to have a lifespan on them anyways. Nothing's like physically broken or damaged or hit or anything. Speaking of broken, damaged, or hit or anything, this ball joint's pretty beat up. Look how smooth this one is. It's like sort of lower ring. You got a couple dents there. And then this one, it's all marred up and bent. I don't know what the story was there. I can see the suspension's been apart before, because I guess this ball joint got seized in there. And you can see some hammer marks there on the side of it. Right here. To where someone was trying to beat it to get it out of there. But nothing wrong. So, yeah, I'm just gonna get a couple of pictures of these items, get that all in an estimate, make some comparisons, and get all my little bits and pieces together, and get this quote sent off and get started on the engine sometime this week, probably. So it should be a pretty smooth job, and I'll make a separate video for that. So mainly for the customer to see, but for anybody else that stumbles across this too that cares, feel free to give it a watch.